Are we? All right, and now we're back. How's it going, party people? Wanted to start today with a new idea. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be discussing the movie Terrifier and the trilogy that came along. The third movie is now out and in theaters and should be out on DVD soon. Seems like movies get sent to DVD pretty quickly now, which is, in my opinion, a huge relief. Because when I was a kid, you had to wait like at least 2 years for the movie um, to come to VHS because they had to format it, but they would try to milk it as long as they could. And as a kid, I grew up around Chicago and Lincoln Square, where there was a place that was called the Davis Theater, and it was the best fucking movie theater you could ask for. It was $1.50 for the first show, $2.50 after the first show, and $4 if you wanted to see a Davis art film, which was usually one of the more low budget independent films that probably needed the extra money. Um, and I think that in retrospect, I think they probably needed, they need to fill that room up, and not many people are going to show up. So it does make sense to boost the price up since you're not going to get as many viewers, and you want to fill that room and make sure you make enough because you got to keep the lights on. I totally understand that. Totally understand that. But what we're going to be trying out today is fresh Northern Lights. Now, this is actual Northern Lights Sativa, and we're going to go ahead and give that a shot while we talk about the new trilogy that just, well, we'll get to that in just a moment. All right, for one, it's very dense. It's very dense. It's a very good taste though. It's minty, uh, very earthy. But you know what? It's more minty than it is earthy. Uh, Recently, we tried out some runts, and I remember the runts tasting quite earthy. And then we tried the Black Kush last week, and when we tried Black Kush for the first time, that also didn't seem to have an earthy taste at all, which I would have definitely expected from its color and its dark purpleness. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get into that now. Let's see, Terrifier 3. All right. So in the first film, we had it based. The first film was based over in. I'm not really sure. It was based in the street. The second one was based in the carnival, and then the third one is now Christmas. So we started on Halloween, and I really think that this third movie has opened the door for a lot of different ideas. And so basically, Terrifier was a ride in an amusement park in a carnival. And so that's where all of this had happened and where the guy turned into who he is. So what we started out with in the first film was a human being, and the writers had told us as such that we're dealing with a human being. And so in the very first one, it starts out kind of with flashes of the sequel. So the very first one gets us to understand who Vicky is, and Vicky is basically the victim of Terrifier, but balances it out by later on coming out with her own kind of sickness and evil. So she ends up tearing the face off of a well-known TV talk show host or some shit like that. And then that same woman ends up kind of becoming possessed by a demon. And we're not sure if it is the devil himself, but we know that it is definitely a demon. And so when Terrifier got caught at the very end of Terrifier, he puts the gun in his mouth, he blows himself away. Now, what happens here is basically Hell needed a surrogate. They needed some sort of body that knew no limits and knew no actual morality or had absolute disregard for life and no regard for life itself. So the Terrifier character, Art the Clown is the perfect surrogate for this said evil. So he embarks on his own journey. And so after the first one, he kills himself. Basically, Hell decides this is the one we wanted all along. So they go off and they bring him back to life. Now, although they brought him back to life, he is now immortal. Beside him is, what could be the devil himself or a demon child that follows him around. And it's really interesting. By the third one, we get, Hell itself is opened up. It's an insane storyline, but it really, really goes well with the slasher genre. And I really feel like that the third one completed the series to give us a real look at a new face of horror.
He's the most famous serial killer since Jack the Ripper. The 5-year anniversary is coming up. I think a lot of people would really like to hear from you after all this time. I want to know what it's like to be in the presence of that kind of evil. What goes through your brain when he's close enough to you. You feel his breath.
That part is awesome, like really awesome, because you had to put that together in the movie. She said, I want to know what it's like to be around such evil. And then he takes off the sunglasses to show her what the eyes of a true evil man fucking looks like. And I love what they did here, because in the movie, he went to the bar and he meets up with a Santa Claus. And so he meets with a Santa Claus, and he gets very excited, like a child, goes into the bar, finds out the Santa Claus actually does have a real beard. So in killing everybody, he then takes the face of Santa Claus. And so that is the beard we're looking at right here, is a glued on beard that he did himself, so that way he can really look the part.
I saw him today.
Who? How can you be sure it was really him?
I could feel it.
Who's this Santa? He's scaring my kid.
Yeah, he's scaring me too.
Hey, Santa's handing out presents!
Why would he come back here? Even if he was alive, which he isn't. Wouldn't you want to get as far away from here as possible, as far away from you?
And that was one thing. When it came down to the kid character, I really felt like, it was kind of like Ghostbusters 2. You know, like after all they've been through, you're really not going to believe your sister when you guys have literally been through the unbelievable. You guys have been into like the most fantastical shit ever, and you're going to doubt her. You know, it's like, you know, Ghostbusters 2 when, you know, the guy, a kid tells, you know, Dan Aykroyd that my dad says you guys are a bunch of hack liars. And it's like the whole city knew that whatever. We'll continue to watch this for a second.
You both know this isn't over. I have to go back to the Terrifier. Still buried there, isn't it? Might be the only thing that can stop them.
Oh, that was another question I wanted answered. You gotta love that Chris Jericho was in it. But besides that, is it just me, or is that the fucking house from Home Alone? I mean, it really looks like it. I don't know if anybody has an idea, but is that the house from Home Alone? Like, it really, really looks like it to me right now. And so, yeah, we get the full-on treatment in this movie. They really don't go. They spare no expense when it comes to the budget. They have a much bigger budget, and it still gives you that. It still gives you that feeling, that low budget horror feeling. You know, that never leaves you. And that, to me, that was the most important part, is that the movie has to feel grounded in a certain way, because when you go and see a big budget horror film, it usually sucks balls. And usually you want to go see the lesser known horror films, you know, movies like Murder Set Pieces. You know, we have a wonderful place called the Music Box Theater that really, really cares about theater and cares about art. And so they have a lot of horror releases. And one of my favorite ones was Murder Set Pieces. I went to go see that at around 13 years old. And, you know, the Music Box is a very intimate kind of theater. It's a much smaller place, but they're going to play the type of movies that you won't see anywhere else. Whereas like the Davis Theater that I mentioned before, they played movies that were like this close to being a blockbuster. You know, they'll be a blockbuster pretty damn soon. They're always the first to get movies. And then we get to understand that Art the Clown is not necessarily in control in this movie. In the third one, he, of course, does whatever the fuck he wants. But he's starting to realize that there is a bigger player at hand, and there might be a point where Art the Clown ends up defying the devil, not out of goodwill or good faith in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is a guy that literally cuts people in half. But I don't see him being the type that you can push around and tell what to do. Like he is a fucking psychotic, you know, rabid dog rather than a bulldog, you know? He's not tameable. He's not, you know, coachable, and he sure as fuck isn't going to do anything that you ask him to do. So the idea that this higher power, this devil character, is going to want Art to do A, B, and C when he doesn't want to, I can see Art saying, you know, fuck you, I'm only on one side and that's mine. Now, one of the biggest things that drew me to Terrifier, was not just the guts and the gore, but the very aspect of dude ain't afraid to cap a bitch. And that is the funniest shit I'd ever seen. When he kills when he kills Tara or whatever in the first movie, he shoots her repeatedly in the face and just has this look on him like and David Thornton does a hell of a job. Howard David Thornton does a hell of a job playing Art the Clown. I don't think the original actor that played him in All Hallows Eve could have ever pulled off some of the silent hilarity that is Art the Clown, because let's remember he's more of a harlequin, so he's also the mime character, and we know that he's a full-on mute because when he is shot or stabbed he doesn't scream, so that's a mute. And we also never hear him breathe that hard either. And there's just so many different things about Art the Clown that's just fucking awesome. Like, for one, he's a whole new face to the genre that we've absolutely needed. There was no way Jeepers Creepers was going to get there. There was no way that a lot of these horror movies were going to get there. And Terrifier is just something of its own. It's its own beauty. And I really definitely love the storyline. I'm interested in seeing where it goes. And this is horror done right. This is horror done the way that Halloween, 5 should have been. Originally Halloween 5 would have been a fucking fantastic film, but unfortunately, Mustafa Akkad couldn't say no to the idea of a rush script, but a guaranteed movie budget or screening. So when he wanted to basically come up with Halloween 5, which was going to be, Jamie's revenge and Jamie's taking on the moniker of Michael Myers. Because at the end of Halloween 4, we remember Jamie killing her stepmother, or at least stabbing her, and repeatedly. So what we were supposed to get was, a real comeback from that. Instead, we ended up getting a very rushed, sloppy film where, one of our favorite characters died in Rachel, being the surrogate mother of poor Jamie. And when it comes down to the Halloween mythos, we can J down on that. The Halloween mythos fell off when they really started going the route of the Thorn idea. That wasn't a great idea for Michael Myers. Rob Zombie simply didn't know who Michael Myers was at all with his Halloween 2 remake. His first movie wasn't that bad. I think it gets way too much bad press when it wasn't that bad of a movie. It's the idea that Michael Myers was made through environment rather than pure evil. I like that idea. That's perfectly fine. But when I start hearing him grunting, making grunt noises while he's stabbing people, I'm out. And then you also make him Jason Voorhees because now he's got mommy issues. And, Michael couldn't give a fuck less about his mom. I don't think he ever got a chance to kill his mom because we don't really find out that much about the parents after Laurie. So, you know what? That is a good point. Why didn't he ever go for Laurie's parents? I mean, well, that's his own parents. Huh. It's a good question. I'm going to put that in the screen, see if you guys get that question. So, so Halloween 5 was supposed to be a really great film, and it never got to get its chance simply because of the fact that they wanted a quick release, and if they can get it by the October, it was like January, if they can get it done by October, they'd have guaranteed seats, and I guess you just can't say no to, a guarantee sure thing. But the problem was, like, what's the point of making it if the movie gets there and it's not what it should be? And then Halloween 6 is The Curse of Michael Myers, which used to be my absolute favorite. To me, it was the most intense Michael Myers I'd ever seen. And there was never a time I'd seen Michael Myers scarier than Halloween 6. But I don't know. That could just be. I'm hoping that this will get more and more viewers as it goes along. So ultimately, does it satisfy your cravings? Does it satisfy a Terrifier fan? Absolutely. Terrifier 3 is 100% what you think it's gonna be, and then some. It's a lot like Wolverine and Deadpool. It's just a guaranteed fucking hit, and you know you're gonna like it. Now, at the very end, there is a very Sam Raimi Evil Dead type of ending that was, to me, a great step because we're going to see we're going to learn more and, find out who the father really was because we all up to this point, we've gotten flashbacks of the father, and the father knew that this fight was going to come to fruition at some point, which is why he wrote the comic book. And basically, his daughter is that, hero that he wrote in the comic, but it was more like a prophecy. So, I'm very interested to see where the fuck this is going to go. Because, it's definitely taken a Sam Raimi route with, a big, large ending that can go either way. And number 4, probably like number 3 and number 2, they all just pick up where the last one left off. So let's hope for that. And, it again, just a genius fucking movie overall. Damien Leone is the new fucking Sam Raimi or Wes Craven, and we have needed a new Wes Craven, John Carpenter type for quite a while. The last one we had was like Eli Roth, and I wasn't too fond of his films because they're very rape heavy. And I'm not a fan of sexual abuse. I've seen it and dealt with it as a child. I don't need to see that on a screen. So it really does bother me. I don't care for movies that try to shock me with sexual gratification. That really bothers me. And it's triggering, You can't help but look at the floor and shit like that. And you should never feel that way at the movies. So, I want to have more of these types of conversations. So I'm going to do this again. We're just going to be calling it horror talk. All right. So, hopefully the next one we'll get is a little bit more popular. All right. Love you guys. Take it easy. Stay cheesy, my friends.